Picture this. You're walking through the halls of the Vatican. Golden artwork everywhere. Beautiful statues. Priests walking around in their robes. But what if I told you that beneath all this beauty, locked away in secret vaults that most people will never see, are artifacts so dangerous, so mysterious, that the Catholic Church has decided they must never see the light of day? We're not talking about your regular church treasures here. We're talking about objects that could shake the very foundations of what we believe about history, religion, and maybe even reality itself. Items so forbidden that even mentioning them makes some people very, very nervous. Today, we're going deep into the Vatican's most guarded secrets. We're talking about 5 artifacts that are literally locked away from the world. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the Church wants to keep these things hidden from you and me. But before we start, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered what secrets the most powerful religious organization in the world might be hiding? Well, you're about to find out. And trust me, some of these will blow your mind. Let's start with something that sounds like it came straight out of a horror movie. Deep in the Vatican's secret archives sits what many call the Throne of Lucifer. Now, before you think this is just some made-up story, listen to this. Back in the 1800s, there was this French author named Leo Taxil. He claimed he had inside information about a secret satanic throne hidden in the Vatican. But here's where it gets really weird. Even after Taxil admitted he made up a lot of his stories, people kept talking about this throne. Why? Because too many witnesses had seen something. The throne isn't what you'd expect. It's not some big scary chair with demons carved into it. According to the few people who claim to have seen it, it looks almost normal. Almost. It's made of black stone, carved with symbols that don't match any known language. The chair seems to absorb light instead of reflecting it. People who've been near it say the temperature drops by at least 10 degrees. But here's the creepy part. The throne isn't just sitting there collecting dust. Several Vatican insiders have reported that it's been used in ceremonies. Secret ceremonies that happen in the middle of the night, deep underground, where no tourists or regular priests are allowed. One former Vatican employee, who we can't name for obvious reasons, told investigators that he once stumbled upon one of these ceremonies by accident. He described seeing high-ranking church officials dressed in robes that weren't the usual white or red. These robes were completely black, and they were chanting in a language he didn't recognize. The employee said that when they noticed him watching, everything stopped. Complete silence. He was escorted out and transferred to a different job the very next day. He never spoke about it publicly until years after he left the Vatican. Now, the Church officially denies that any such throne exists. They say it's all conspiracy theories and made-up stories. But if that's true, why are there so many similar accounts from different people who worked there? Why do these stories keep coming up again and again? Some researchers believe the throne might be connected to ancient pre-Christian rituals. Remember, before Christianity took over Europe, there were lots of different religions. Some of these religions had artifacts and practices that the early church wanted to completely wipe out. But instead of destroying everything, they might have kept some items locked away. Think about it this way. If you wanted to make sure something never influenced people again, would you destroy it completely? Or would you keep it somewhere safe where you could watch it? Maybe the Vatican chose option 2. The strangest part about the Throne of Lucifer isn't just that it might exist. It's that people who've been near it report having vivid nightmares for weeks afterward. Dreams about ancient ceremonies, about power that shouldn't exist, about secrets that go back thousands of years. One investigative journalist spent months trying to get access to the Vatican's restricted areas. He never found the throne, but he did find evidence of rooms that don't appear on any official map. Rooms that are guarded 24 hours a day, even though supposedly nothing important is stored there. What do you think? Is it possible that one of the world's most powerful religious organizations is hiding artifacts from religions they once fought against? And if they are, what else might be down there? Get ready for this one because it sounds like pure science fiction, but the evidence is pretty hard to ignore. Hidden somewhere in the Vatican is a device called the Chronovisor, and if the claims about it are true, it's basically a time machine. The story starts with a Benedictine monk named Father Pellegrino Ernetti. This wasn't just any monk. He was a respected scientist who taught physics at the University of Venice. In the 1960s, he claimed he had worked with a team of 12 scientists to build a machine that could see into the past. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds completely crazy. But here's the thing about Father Ernetti. He wasn't known for making up stories. His colleagues described him as serious, careful, and honest. So when he started talking about the Chronovisor, people listened. According to Ernetti, the machine worked by detecting light and sound waves that bounce around in space forever. Think of it like this. When you throw a stone into a pond, the ripples keep going even after you can't see them anymore. Ernetti believed that everything that ever happened leaves these invisible ripples, and his machine could detect them and turn them back into pictures and sounds. The Chronovisor supposedly looked like a big television with lots of dials and controls. It had screens that could show what happened anywhere in the past. Want to see what Jesus really looked like? Just dial in the right time and place. Curious about what really happened to famous historical figures? The machine could show you. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Ernetti claimed he had actually used the machine. He said he watched Jesus's crucifixion. He described seeing ancient Roman theaters and even claimed he had a photograph of Christ on the cross. When people asked to see this photo, he showed them a blurry image that could have been anyone. The Vatican's reaction to all this was very strange. Instead of saying Ernetti was crazy or wrong, they did something much more suspicious. They made him promise to never talk about the Chronovisor again. They moved him to a different job where he couldn't do research. And according to some sources, they confiscated all his notes and the machine itself. Father Ernetti died in 1994, but before he died, he told a close friend something very interesting. He said the Chronovisor was real and it worked, but using it was dangerous. Not because of the technology, but because of what it could show people. He said some truths are too dangerous for the world to know. Think about it. If you had a machine that could show you exactly what happened in the past, what would that mean for religion? What if the stories in the Bible happen differently than we think? What if other religions got some things right that Christianity got wrong? What if historical events that shaped our entire world actually happened in completely different ways? Several other scientists have claimed they worked on similar projects. A physicist named Father François Brune said he knew about the Chronovisor and believed it was possible to build. He said the Vatican had good reasons for keeping it secret because it could cause chaos if people saw things that contradicted their beliefs. But the really weird part is what happened to the other scientists who supposedly worked on the project. Most of them had their research shut down around the same time. Some moved to different countries. Others stopped doing research completely and became very quiet about their past work. One former Vatican researcher, speaking anonymously, claimed that the Church doesn't just have the Chronovisor locked away. They have recordings. Hours and hours of footage from different time periods, all stored in a vault that requires special permission from the Pope himself to access. The question is, if the Chronovisor is just a fantasy, why did the Vatican react so strongly? Why shut down the research and hide everything? Usually, when someone makes wild claims, organizations just ignore them. But the Vatican did the opposite. They took action, which makes people think there might be something real to hide. What do you think they might have seen that scared them so much? This next artifact might be the most dangerous one of all, because if it's real, it could change everything we know about Christianity. Hidden deep in the Vatican's secret archives is supposedly a document that Jesus himself wrote. Not something about Jesus. Something by Jesus. The story goes back to the early days of Christianity. When the Church was deciding which books would go into the Bible and which ones wouldn't, they had to make some tough choices. There were dozens of Gospels floating around, written by different people who claimed to know Jesus or his disciples. Most people know about the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those made it into the Bible. But there were others, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Judas. The Church decided these were either fake or contained ideas that didn't match what they wanted Christianity to be about. But according to several historical sources, there was one gospel that was different from all the others. This one was supposedly written by Jesus himself, in his own handwriting, during the last weeks of his life. And the Church didn't just reject it. They were terrified of it. Why would they be scared of something Jesus wrote? Because according to the few people who claim to have read parts of it, this gospel tells a very different story about who Jesus was and what he really taught. One former Vatican archivist, who we'll call Father M because he asked not to be identified, spent 40 years working in the secret archives. He claimed that in 1978, he was asked to help catalog some extremely old documents that had been kept in a special climate-controlled vault. Most of the documents were exactly what you'd expect. Old letters between popes, financial records, diplomatic messages. But there was one document that was different. It was written on papyrus, in ancient Aramaic, and it was kept in a box that required 2 different keys to open. Father M said the document was labeled simply as the personal testament of Yeshua of Nazareth. Yeshua is the original Hebrew name for Jesus. When he was allowed to read small portions of it, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. According to Father M, this gospel described Jesus not as the Son of God, but as a teacher who had learned special knowledge from traveling to other countries. The document talked about Jesus studying in India and Egypt, learning meditation and healing techniques that weren't known in Palestine at the time. But the really shocking part was what the gospel said about Jesus' message. Instead of talking about sin and salvation the way the Bible does, this document focused on something completely different. It talked about humans being able to connect directly with the divine without needing priests or churches. Imagine how dangerous that would be for the Catholic Church. Their entire power structure is based on the idea that they're the middlemen between God and regular people. If Jesus himself wrote that everyone could connect with God directly, it would mean the church isn't necessary at all. Father M said the document also contained detailed instructions for meditation practices and healing techniques. It described how to achieve states of consciousness that would allow people to perform what we might call miracles, but which Jesus apparently saw as natural human abilities that anyone could develop. The document reportedly ends with Jesus writing about his own death. But instead of describing it as a sacrifice for humanity's sins, he wrote about it as a necessary step in his own spiritual evolution. He said his followers shouldn't worship him, but should follow his example and develop their own divine abilities. When Father M finished reading the portions he was allowed to see, his supervisor made him sign a document promising never to speak about what he had read. He was told that the document was so dangerous to the church that even acknowledging its existence could result in excommunication. But Father M wasn't the only person to see this gospel. Several other Vatican employees have made similar claims over the years. A translator who worked there in the 1980s said she was asked to work on small sections of an ancient document that contained teachings that contradicted basic Christian doctrine. A maintenance worker claimed he once accidentally entered a restricted room and saw priests studying a document that made them visibly upset. When they noticed him, they quickly covered the document and escorted him out. The really interesting thing is that all these accounts describe similar contents, even though these people didn't know each other and worked at the Vatican during different time periods. Of course, the Vatican officially denies that any such document exists. But their denials are strangely specific. They don't just say, "We don't have any secret gospels." They say, "We don't have any authentic documents written by Jesus Christ himself," which makes you wonder, do they have documents they think might be authentic? Some biblical scholars believe that if such a document existed, it would be the most important historical discovery ever made. It would give us direct access to Jesus' own thoughts and teachings, without having to rely on what other people said he said. But maybe that's exactly why it's locked away. Maybe some truths are too powerful for the world to handle. Our fourth forbidden artifact is something that sounds like it belongs in an adventure movie, but the history behind it is very real and very dark. Hidden in the Vatican is supposedly the actual spear that was used to pierce Jesus' side while he was dying on the cross. And according to legend, whoever possesses this spear has the power to rule the world. The Spear of Destiny, also called the Holy Lance, has a history that reads like a thriller novel. Throughout the centuries, it's supposedly been owned by some of the most powerful and most evil leaders in history. And every single one of them met a terrible end shortly after losing the spear. The story starts with a Roman soldier named Longinus. According to the Bible, when Jesus was crucified, a soldier pierced his side with a spear to make sure he was dead. That soldier was Longinus, and that spear became one of the most sought-after artifacts in human history. But here's where the story gets weird. Longinus wasn't just any soldier. According to legend, he was blind in one eye. When Jesus' blood dripped from the spear onto Longinus's face, it healed his blindness instantly. In that moment, Longinus became a believer and eventually became a saint. The spear itself was said to be transformed by touching the blood of Christ. It gained supernatural powers. Whoever held it in battle could not be defeated. Whoever possessed it could command the loyalty of entire armies. But the power came with a terrible price. If you ever lost the spear, you would die soon after. Throughout history, the spear has supposedly belonged to some very famous people. Constantine the Great, the first Christian Roman emperor, reportedly carried it into battle and never lost a fight. Charlemagne, who built a massive empire across Europe, was said to own the spear and credited it with his success. But the most disturbing connection involves Adolf Hitler. Multiple historical sources confirm that Hitler was obsessed with occult artifacts, and the Spear of Destiny was at the top of his list. In 1938, when Germany took over Austria, one of Hitler's first actions was to seize the spear from a museum in Vienna. Hitler believed that possessing the spear would make him invincible. And for a while, it seemed to work. Germany won victory after victory in the early years of World War II. But according to the legend, Hitler's power ended the moment he lost control of the spear. On April 30, 1945, Allied forces captured the spear from Hitler's hiding place. Just a few hours later, Hitler killed himself in his bunker. Coincidence? Maybe. But it fits the pattern that had followed the spear for centuries. Now, here's where the Vatican comes in. After World War II, there were actually several spears that different people claimed were the real Spear of Destiny. One was in Vienna, one was in Armenia, one was in Poland. But according to several sources, the real spear was secretly moved to the Vatican. A former U.S. Army officer named Colonel Howard Buechner wrote a book claiming that he was part of a secret mission to recover occult artifacts that the Nazis had collected. According to Buechner, the real Spear of Destiny was found in Antarctica, where the Nazis had hidden it along with other supernatural objects. Buechner claimed that instead of bringing the spear back to America, it was secretly given to the Vatican because the Catholic Church was the only organization trusted to keep such a dangerous artifact safe. But why would the Vatican want to hide the spear? If it's a Christian relic, shouldn't they display it proudly? Several researchers believe the answer has to do with the spear's power. If the legends are true, the spear doesn't just give you military victory. It gives you the power to control people's minds and bend them to your will. Think about how dangerous that would be. The Catholic Church already has enormous influence over billions of people around the world. If they also had a supernatural artifact that could increase that power, they might be unstoppable. But at the same time, if such power fell into the wrong hands, it could be used to destroy the church entirely. A Vatican researcher who worked there in the 1970s claimed he once saw a spear in a special vault that was surrounded by what looked like protective symbols. The spear was kept in a case that required 3 different people with 3 different keys to open. Even then, it could only be opened during certain times of the year. The researcher said that senior church officials would sometimes visit this vault for what they called prayer and meditation sessions. But these sessions always happened at exactly midnight, and the officials would stay for exactly 1 hour. The researcher said he could hear chanting coming from the vault, but it wasn't in Latin or any language he recognized. Other sources have reported similar stories. A security guard claimed he was once asked to stand watch outside a restricted area while special ceremonies took place inside. He said he could see strange lights coming from under the door and could hear voices speaking in unison. The most disturbing account comes from a former priest who said he was invited to participate in one of these midnight ceremonies. According to him, senior Vatican officials would hold the spear while making important decisions about church policy. He claimed they believed the spear helped them understand God's will, but he said the experience felt more like contacting something much darker. Whether you believe in supernatural powers or not, the historical fact is that whoever has possessed this spear has gained enormous power, and whoever has lost it has faced terrible consequences. If the Vatican really does have the Spear of Destiny locked away, they might have good reasons for keeping it secret. After all, some power is too dangerous for anyone to wield. Our final forbidden artifact isn't an object you can touch. It's information. And according to many people, it's information so terrifying that the Vatican has decided the world can never know the truth about it. In 1917, 3 young children in Fatima, Portugal, claimed they saw visions of the Virgin Mary. During these visions, Mary supposedly told them 3 secrets about the future of the world. The first 2 secrets were eventually revealed by the Catholic Church. But the third secret? That's been locked away for over a century. The children were Lucia dos Santos and her younger cousins, Francisco and Jacinta Marto. They were just ordinary kids from farming families. But what happened to them changed the Catholic Church forever. During their visions, the Virgin Mary supposedly told them 3 things that would happen in the future. The first secret was a vision of hell, which was pretty standard for religious visions. The second secret predicted the end of World War I and the start of World War II, which did happen exactly as described. But the third secret was different. According to Lucia, who lived the longest of the 3 children, this secret was so terrible that it could not be revealed until 1960 at the earliest. She wrote it down and sealed it in an envelope with instructions that it should only be opened by the Pope. In 1960, Pope John XCI opened the envelope and read the third secret. According to witnesses, his reaction was immediate and dramatic. He turned pale, began shaking, and reportedly said, "This does not concern the pontificate of John XXIII." He ordered the secret to be sealed away again. Every pope since then has read the Third Secret, and every single one has decided that it must remain hidden. That's 8 different popes over more than 60 years, all making the same decision to keep this information from the world. In 2000, the Vatican claimed they had revealed the Third Secret. They said it was about an attempt to assassinate a pope, referring to the attack on Pope John Paul II in 1981. But many people, including some high-ranking church officials, said this wasn't the real secret. Cardinal Ratzinger, who later became Pope Benedict XVI, was involved in the 2000 revelation. But several people who worked with him said he privately admitted that what they revealed was only part of the truth. The real secret, he reportedly said, was still too dangerous to share. So what could be so terrible that the Catholic Church would rather face conspiracy theories and criticism than reveal the truth? Several theories have emerged based on leaked information from Vatican insiders. One former Vatican secretary claimed that the Third Secret predicts the end of the Catholic Church itself. According to this theory, the Virgin Mary warned that the Church would become so corrupt and would stray so far from Jesus' original teachings that God would eventually destroy it and start over. Think about how devastating that would be for the Church. They've spent centuries claiming to be God's representatives on earth. If their own holy vision predicted their destruction, it would undermine everything they stand for. Another theory, supported by several leaked documents, suggests that the Third Secret reveals that other religions contain important truths that Christianity has ignored. According to this version, the Virgin Mary told the children that all sincere believers, regardless of their religion, would be saved. This would contradict the Church's teaching that salvation only comes through accepting Jesus Christ. But the most disturbing theory comes from a former Vatican translator who claimed to have worked on documents related to Fatima. According to him, the Third Secret isn't about the future at all. It's about the past. Specifically, it reveals the truth about who Jesus really was and what really happened during his life. This translator claimed that the secret reveals that Jesus was not unique, but was one of several spiritual teachers who achieved divine consciousness. The Virgin Mary supposedly told the children that this truth had been hidden to prevent people from realizing they could achieve the same spiritual level that Jesus did. In 2017, exactly 100 years after the original visions, there were reports that Pope Francis was considering revealing the true Third Secret. Several Vatican insiders said Francis believed the world was ready to handle the truth. But then suddenly, all talk of revelation stopped. What happened? According to one source, Francis was shown additional documents related to the secret that even he hadn't known about. These documents supposedly contained more details that were even more shocking than the original secret. After reading them, Francis decided that the revelation would have to wait for a future pope. The strangest part of the whole Fatima mystery is how the Vatican has handled it. Usually, when the Church wants to keep something secret, they just don't talk about it. But with Fatima, they've repeatedly brought attention to it while refusing to give complete information. It's almost like they want people to know there's a secret while making sure no one learns what it actually is. Some researchers believe this is intentional. Maybe the Vatican uses the mystery of the Third Secret as a way to keep people interested in the Church while hiding truths that would actually drive people away. A former papal aide claimed that there are actually multiple versions of the Third Secret locked away in Vatican vaults. He said Lucia dos Santos was asked to write down her memory of the visions several different times over the years, and each version contains slightly different details. The Vatican supposedly keeps all versions sealed away because even the differences between them reveal information they don't want public. The most recent development in the Fatima mystery happened just a few years ago. In 2019, a Vatican archivist reportedly found additional documents related to the visions that had been misfiled for decades. When these documents were brought to the attention of church officials, they were immediately classified at the highest level of secrecy. What could be in those documents that's even more secret than the original secret? And why, after more than a century, is the Catholic Church still so afraid of 3 children's visions that they won't tell us the truth? Maybe some secrets are kept not to protect the Church, but to protect our entire understanding of reality itself. So there you have it. 5 forbidden artifacts locked away in the Vatican's most secret vaults. The Throne of Lucifer, with its connection to ancient dark rituals. The Chronovisor, the time machine that could rewrite history. The Lost Gospel of Jesus, containing teachings that could revolutionize Christianity. The Spear of Destiny, with its terrible power over life and death. And the Third Secret of Fatima, Information so dangerous that 8 different popes have decided we can't handle the truth. Now, I want to be clear about something. We can't prove that all of these artifacts actually exist. The Vatican keeps their secrets very well protected. But what we can say is that there are too many witnesses, too many similar stories, and too many suspicious reactions from church officials for all of this to be just made-up conspiracy theories. The real question isn't whether these artifacts exist. The real question is, what else is the Vatican hiding? If they're willing to lock away objects and information this significant, what other secrets are buried in those underground vaults? And here's something to think about. Maybe the Vatican isn't the villain in this story. Maybe they're protecting us from knowledge and powers that could destroy our world if they fell into the wrong hands. Or maybe they're protecting themselves from truths that would end their power forever. What do you think? Are there some secrets that should stay buried, or do we have the right to know everything, no matter how dangerous? Should the Vatican reveal these artifacts to the world, or are they right to keep them locked away? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which of these artifacts do you think is most likely to be real? And if you could ask the Pope one question about the Vatican's secret vaults, what would it be? If this video opened your eyes to the mysteries hidden in the Vatican, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've got more incredible secrets coming your way, including some that might be even more shocking than what you heard today. And if you really want to support this channel and help us uncover more hidden truths, consider becoming a member. Members get early access to videos like this one, plus exclusive content that we can't share anywhere else. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth is out there, but sometimes you have to dig deep to find it. Keep questioning everything, and I'll see you in the next video.